What percentage of doctors ever figure out what they're doing doesn't work? And of those who do figure it out, how long does it take? Most doctors, within a couple decades, they finally realize, my God, none of this is working. People are getting worse. I'm a failure. You're more than a failure. You're the #1 cause of death in America, and I'm yelling because they're killing us, you stupid shits. They're killing us. #1 cause of death. One, they're killing us. Why are we allowing it? Why do they have a monopoly? If you don't understand why I'm pissed, you don't know what I know. We should be outraged. We should be pulling our hair out. We should be dragging people up and burning them on a stake or something. Now, I'm not advocating that, of course, but I'm telling you, we got to get motivated. I'm mad as hell.
According to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, 15,000 Medicare patients a month are killed by MD treatment, and nobody goes to jail. A handful of terrorists fly 2 planes into the Twin Towers. 3,500 people die, and we go to war. But 15,000 people a month are killed by medical doctor treatments, and we don't bat an eyelash. This is because we have been, I don't want to say brainwashed, that's not the correct term, but we have been, for the last 100 years, kind of led into this false belief. You know, I think it was Marcus Welby that started it, that the medical doctor is king and knows everything about everything. And really, you need to just shut up and follow your medical doctor's advice. Most people in the United States have no idea at all of the history of the evolution of medicine in the United States. In the early 1900s, it was a relatively level playing field between the chiropractors, the osteopaths, the homeopaths, and the MDs. In 1915, 1920, there was something called the Flexner Report. The Carnegie Corporation funded this man named Abraham Flexner. He went all around the country, and he went on stagecoach and train and horseback. This was before the interstate highway system, right? Took Flexner 5 years to do this. He went all around the country and did an inventory of all of the medical schools that prescribed drugs. He brought the list back to the Carnegies, who own drug companies, and then the Carnegies and the Rockefellers gave millions of dollars of free money to the medical schools and hospitals in the United States that were prescribing drugs. That was the beginning of the end. After the Flexner Report, there was no more level playing field in the United States. And the MDs started a juggernaut that's taken off. Most people in the United States think that the predominant medicine here, MD-directed pharmaceutical medicine, we think that those guys are top dog because their therapeutics are better than the homeopaths or the naturopaths or the chiropractors. It's not. They're in the driver's seat because of political and financial coalitions that were built at the turn of the century that most people have no idea of at all. And it's a gigantic problem. And I mean, it's crazy, right? It's the 3rd leading cause of death. And yet, when the government makes noise about messing with people's insurance, everybody freaks out. And that's a whole nother thing to talk about, isn't it? Because what is medical insurance? When you buy medical insurance, what are you doing? You're betting that you're going to get so sick you will not be able to afford it. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And then, so you pay good money every month to gain access to a system of medicine that's the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. We need our heads examined, quite frankly.
You know, when you sit in my position, 40 years as a healer, naturopathic degree, biochemistry degree, herbal degree, fitness degrees, I've had a ton of degrees. And none of them means nothing because you learn nothing in school. You learn some basic stuff. Where you learn is working with people over 40 years. And my friend Dr. Jensen worked with people over 75 years. And when you work in this field, our goal is always regeneration of tissue and cellular genetic remembering. You know, when you look at cells in our discussion in part 1, was a breakdown of the human body, and this is essential for you to learn. It is essential for you to lose the fear when it comes to cancer, any cancer. I don't care. They fear pancreatic cancer. We've had so many people overcome their pancreatic cancers through these health programs. Do we treat cancer? No. We don't want anything to do with diseases because they don't exist.
Why can't organized medicine find a solution to any of our problems? You can't find a sunset when you're going east. You can't find it. The rulers of the world are masters of misdirection. They're misdirected our so-called experts. And I have a theory that everyone who goes into infectious disease, I think they have to pass an IQ test, and where you got to be below a certain level. Because these guys got to be the dumbest idiots in the world to believe in this bullshit. You're real good at remembering information, but you can't connect any dots together. You can't do any. You can't even think. You don't have the ability for critical thinking. And this is all by design. Also, I point this out in my video about education. The way the system's designed, it rewards those who have a good memory, not people who are smart and know how to solve problems, but who have good memories. And then they know those type of people will go into positions that require a lot of training, like lawyers and doctors, and they don't question authority. This is by design. Again, we're manipulated on levels most of us don't understand. Problem, reaction, solution, DDT, give us the vaccines. Here they are, hallelujah. Now I'm branded for life. You motherfuckers! God, I get pissed off because I know how you fuckers work and think.
And as soon as you realize that diseases are an illusionary concept by the allopathic community, that they're feverishly taking everybody's money and all these labs trying to find a cause, we've all known the causes of these things for 100 years. And there's always that carrot in front of a person's nose. We're going to find a cure for diabetes. We're going to find a cure. This is all crap. This is all ridiculous, illusionary bull crap. And it keeps the public in control, it keeps you shoveling out tons of money, and it keeps you in pain and suffering, and eventually your death. And this is why you must take your health in your own hands and learn the rules of the road.
People who rule the world have so much money. It isn't about money, it's about making sure we don't have the money. They got so much money we can't even wrap our brains around it. We're like cattle and sheep to them. When they give us vaccines, we're scarred for life. That's being branded. Wake up, we're being branded. We're sheep. The people in the world are laughing at us, controlling and manipulating us. They got so much money we can't wrap our brains around how much they got. Take $1 million and $1 trillion. How can we relate to those two? We can't. 1 million seconds, a little over 11.5 days. 1 trillion seconds, almost 32,000 years. If you got 500 trillion of these guys, you got 16 million years. That's what the rulers of the world have. They got like 16 trillion years. And when we look at how many people have 1 million, 11.5 days, there may be like 15 million of those, about 1,800 billionaires. So look at the ratio. There's about 200 families that have all the wealth. They have so much wealth we can't even wrap our brain around it. To them, it's like a little monopoly game. Again, I know how to be their accountants. I know how to look at the balance sheet. I know how to look at the world balance sheet. I know how their little brains are thinking and controlling us and branding us, scarring us for life, poisoning us, laughing the whole time. And all their accumulated wealth is their version of slavery to us because we're enslaved. Don't you see? This is how they think. I know it's how they think. I put my brain in theirs and it isn't hard to figure out how they think. They're predictable. They're sick. They have no empathy. All they care about is enslaving us, keeping us where we are. And that's what we are. We're slaves to them. So when you have $500 trillion and the guy next to you only has 200 trillion, it's like I've had, 2.5 times as many slaves as you have. Think of it this way. Think of the world as a construction company. We've got a lot of raw materials and a lot of labor. Every year we build things. We accumulate wealth, retained earnings, accumulated wealth. And what we don't understand is that over the millennium, that so much wealth has been accumulated, we can't comprehend how much they have. And so it isn't about making the money. It's not, when people think it's about the money, it's all about control. They want to make sure we don't have the money. It's a form of feudalism, neo-feudalism. Make sure the masses, the majority of us, don't have enough money so that we can do anything.
And so when you take a look at this planet and you compare our species, you'll find us as a frugivorous species. According to National Geographic and many other anthropologists, we are a tropical species, a frugivorous species, another one who is a fruit-consuming species. Very important to understand that, because we've kind of traveled or migrated, if you will, from tropical regions into the northern climates. And this has created serious problems. Look at some of these arid countries where you have deserts and very few food sources. Africa, a good case where starvation is all over the place. So man has to turn and understand what species he belongs to and why the foods he's been consuming has been hurting him, because we don't look at our lifestyles as having any causative factors to our suffering. And I have to laugh at that, because it's been hundreds of years that healers around the globe have told man to get away from proteins, to get away from grains, to get away from the crap dairy products, especially after you pasteurize them. Man's the only vertebrate that drinks milk after he's weaned. After age 2, most people around the world can't digest milk anymore because they lose lactase. So why would you drink milk, which is nothing but clogging and mucus forming? I've always said, if you have a tumor and you want to see it grow, just drink a glass of milk and watch your tumor grow, because it'll sure grow. If you have tumors in your body and you want them to grow, just drink dairy products, cheese, ice cream, yogurts, kefirs, milks. These are the most mucosic or mucus-forming foods on this planet. There's nothing healthy about pasteurized milk. The chemistry is so bonded, the body has a very difficult time breaking this apart. Everybody says, drink milk for calcium. What they don't tell you is after you ultra-pasteurize it, you can forget the calcium. It's bonded so tightly with other metals and aminos that your body can't use them. So it becomes a foreign protein. This is why. Plus, who drinks another animal's milk that's 4 or 5 times bigger than they are? The chemistry ratios are totally different in cow's milk than they are in human's milk. Thank you. This is why Dr. Jensen promoted goat's milk. Why would you drink milk after you're supposed to be weaned in the first place? And those babies that come in here with cancer, we've got to get their health issues back in line. We put them on fruit juices. And suddenly their tumors disappear. They start looking healthier. Their brain turns on. Their nervous system turns on. Because what people don't realize is the bulk of nutrition in nature is found in the fruits and berries.
Your taste buds will quiver when you eat the right foods. At least 50% of the time when I eat now, whenever I eat my very first bite, my taste buds just start quivering like, whoa, is this intense or what? I still have a short-term relationship with my food like I used to the other food. And that's what everyone else has, but that's all they have. All you cookies out there eating dead, lifeless food only have a short-term relationship with your food, and it's not reciprocal. It's unrequited. You love it, but it doesn't love you, and it's going to fuck you in the end. It's going to screw you and kill you. You're going to die, and it's going to be your fault because you're addicted to the wrong food.
This is where the bulk of nutrition is, not in the grass, not in the barks, but in the fruits and berries. This is electrical food. This is nutritive food. And so very important, but it's very important that you understand the two sides of chemistry, and that fruits and berries and vegetables are predominantly the base or female side of chemistry. You can't eliminate at the cellular level pounds of cellular acids every day and eat acid food and expect to be healthy and happy, because you're living in the world of the corrosive side of chemistry. And you can't stop an acid with more acids. Oncology has not learned that. Oncology needs to take a trip to the emergency room doctors and have them explain to oncologists why we use normal saline, not just to keep the vein open. There's another reason why we use normal saline, and that is to start the alkalizing process. Because if you don't start alkalizing the body that's full of pain and swelling, they're not going to get rid of the pain and swelling, because the pain and swelling is an acid condition of the human body. It's not an autoimmune problem. Any medical doctor that uses the term autoimmune has no clue about what causes anything. He's living in a surreal world of unconsciousness, because there's no such thing as autoimmune problem. Autoimmune problems exist when no one knows what the problem really is. Oh, diabetes, it's an autoimmune problem. Cancer, an autoimmune problem. You're going to wake up to an extreme ignorant modality, and that is the allopathic community. No offense to you medical doctors in any stretch of the imagination, but Last year, 1 million deaths occurred under the tutelage of allopathic community. 1 million people died last year, and some people estimate it could be double that. Naturopathically, in our holistic field, none. Now, if you're going to Las Vegas and gambling on your life, and you have a modality that's killed over 1 million people every year, and one that kills none, which one you gonna bet your life on? So this is the thing you've got to wake up to. We've been brainwashed in thinking this narcissistic community of fine, educated people have the knowledge and awareness, and if they don't, we'll soon get it because we have all these chemists and all these people in the laboratories. The problem is these people are misguided, misled, uneducated, and they don't have the ability to see. They don't have the ability to put everything together. Most of you put together jigsaw puzzles, right, where you have a bunch of pieces and you have a picture to look at. I've always said the allopathic community is trying to put together this jigsaw puzzle of health without the picture. Naturopaths have the picture before, and it's how you look. It's how you're trained to see and look at the body and nature and the laws of nature. We humans break every law of nature there is, from food combinations to physics. We break every law and then wonder why we're sick and suffering. Why half of our money or more. I had a lady with a right breast cancer. They removed her right breast, removed her right kidney so she can't eliminate on the right side. Her leg swelled up, and she lived in her van in McDonald's parking lots and Walmart parking lots because the medical profession stole all her money from surgery and everything else. She was middle class down to homeless.
A better thing to talk about, however, is the relationship between profits and cancer in the United States. There was a study that was published, I believe it was in 1994. It was a 12-year program, 12-year study. They looked at adults who had developed cancer as an adult, not childhood cancer, but adult cancer, right? And this is the main types of cancer that we get here in the United States. They did a meta-analysis of these people all around the world who developed cancer as adults for 12 years and were treated with chemo. And they looked at the results. And they published the results in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. And the results? 97% of the time, chemotherapy does not work. 97% of the time it doesn't work. So why is it still used? It's one reason and one reason only: money. If you go to a medical doctor, an MD, with a sinus infection, and that doctor prescribes an antibiotic, he gets no financial kickback. Now, if he prescribes 5,000, of that antibiotic in 1 month, the drug company that makes it might send him to Cancun for a conference, right? Mm-hmm. But he gets no direct remuneration. It's not with chemotherapeutic drugs. It's different. Chemotherapeutic drugs are the only classification of drugs that the prescribing doctor gets a direct cut of. So if your doctor prescribes chemotherapy for you, here's how it goes, more or less. The doctor buys it from the pharmaceutical company for $5,000, sells it to the patient for $12,000, insurance pays $9,000, and the doctor pockets the $4,000 difference. And there ought to be a law. The only reason chemotherapy is used is because doctors make money from it. Period. It doesn't work 97% of the time. If Ford Motor Company made an automobile that exploded 97% of the time, would they still be in business? No. This is the tip of the iceberg of the control that the pharmaceutical industry has on us. Most people have no idea of this at all. Now, I wrote a book. It's called The MD Emperor Has No Clothes, right? In my book, I have a bulleted list of 10 questions that every cancer patient should ask their doctor. 10 questions. I've had patients kicked out, literally, kicked out of the oncologist's office because the doctor was PO'd that the patient was asking him these questions. And these are just common sense questions. Cancer treatment in the United States, we have lost the war on cancer. We have lost the war on cancer. Why? Because cancer is not a reductionistic phenomenon. Cancer is a holistic phenomenon. And when you try to bring a reductionistic methodology like drugs and surgery to bear on a holistic phenomenon, you will completely miss the boat each and every time. You cannot do it. Medical doctors are like colorblind art critics. They can see that that's a boat. They can see the black and white outline, but they're completely blind to all of the colors and textures that make up the substance of the thing. It's no difference with cancer. The reason that people get cancer in the United States and the reason that we have completely lousy outcomes is because medical doctors are driving the research bus. When women get together and do a 5K run for breast cancer, all of that money, do you think any of that money goes to nutritional research? Do you think any of that money goes to homeopathic research or acupuncture or traditional Chinese medicine or naturopathic research? No. All of it goes to drugs and surgery, which do not work. Now, why aren't those women running for selenium? If every girl in this country took 200 micrograms of selenium, in one generation we'd eliminate breast cancer by 82%. That's a big number. Why aren't we doing that? Because medicine in the United States is a for-profit industry, and most people are completely unaware of this, and most people bow down to the altar of MD-directed high-tech medicine at their own demise.
This is the kind of healthcare system we have, and Obama has forced the Americans to buy into, is a system that can't cure anything, that makes the world think they're the smartest people on the planet, and yet they are actually the opposite. And so when it comes to health issues, I will say this about allopathy. Surgery and emergency medicine should be the limitation of allopathy. And when emergency physicians start learning a lot of our tools that we have in nature, we'll even excel in emergency medicine, especially when it comes to burns. Allopathy is brutal when it comes to burns, and the end result is always mutation. In our field, we can get your skin to grow back nice as you please with no scarring or anything. From first, third, second, and third degree burns. So people don't understand the level that our field has to offer people, and that is the regeneration of tissue or cells. And in that process, you will find genetic remembering of cells. In other words, the genetics, you have to understand genetics in today's world. You have to understand what is genetics and how it affects cells and how it affects your performance, your happiness, and all this. Because genetically speaking, we're losing our bowels, we're losing our kidneys, we're losing our endocrine glands. And that is the bulk of how the body eliminates and functions totally. And we're losing that. Neurologically, we're down like we've never been before. So when we enter surgeries, we go down even more. And we have serious problems from anesthesia. We have serious problems in our world now, in our babies. Like I said, take a look at the obits. Cancer's roaring. So you have people like St. Jude marching these kids in and filling them full of chemo and stuff. No, there's a better way, and you don't have to kill your patients to try to make them better. Does it make sense to kill cells when cells make up your body? Does it make sense that cells that are damaged by acids, which become atypical or cancer cells, and then we use a stronger acid to try to terminate them, do you think your other cells are going to just sit by and say, okay, acid, pass by, and go cake those cells? This is a bunch of crap, and you don't train acids to attack specific cells. That's ridiculous. This is a lot of hype out there. Metastasized cancer, let me tell you, most metastasized cancer is created directly by the allopathic community's use of radiation therapy and chemotherapy. When you damage cells, they become your next cancer. Why would you damage all the cells or potential all the cells of the human body to try to overcome cancer when it creates more cancer? Does it make sense to treat cancer with cancer-causing treatments? I mean, chemo and radiation are the top cancer-causing treatments. And yet, we belly up to that. We march right in and take them in, put a port, let's go. How many people died from subclavian ports in terms of aortic aneurysms? How many people died from aortic aneurysms from putting chemo right into the aorta? putting this battery acid, almost, is between hydrochloric, even hydrochloric acid can't stand in the stomach without ulcerating it, or the small bowel. Acids break down tissue. And so you must learn the two sides of chemistry. You must learn of the body's gigantic lymph system. This lymph system is responsible for all the skin conditions, all the fibromyalgia, lupus, for all the cysts, the tumors, all the pimples, the boils, the cysts, responsible for all the arthritises. Everything you can name, you'll trace right down to what acids do to the human body and what the human body has to do to fight it. And the two antacids I've talked about in part one is cholesterol and calcium. How many people have cholesterol problems? Why? What is cholesterol? Oh, one's bad. You're bad cholesterol. That is unawareness. When someone tells you your bad cholesterol is up, that's unawareness. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. These cholesterols have a specific function in the human body. And when you learn that it's the body's main antacid, cell phospholipids, HDL, LDL, adrenal steroids, and the lipid-based lymphatic fluids dominate the human body, remember, by 75%. There's nothing outside the world that's coming into you and hurting you. This is everything you're creating in your body, and now you have to learn how to uncreate it. And you can uncreate it, thank God, as you created this. And once you understand this and understand the rules of health, because there are rules to health, we are not omnivores. We cannot eat like billy goats. Omnivores are dogs, hogs, bears, and chickens. And I've not seen too many humans that looks like dogs, hogs, bears, or chickens. If they're anything, we look like primates. And primates are frugivores, a tropical species, and we're more refined than that. There's no other food source that man can deal with, and when you eat a high level of fruit, you'll start to get away even from vegetables.
This goes back to democide. The people who the rulers of the world fear the most are upper middle class children, are children of middle class, of that middle class, who have more time and luxury not to have to work all day, and they can actually do research and learn things like this. That's why they're cold every year or every century. 262 million people were cold, murdered by government to make sure to keep the masses where they are. That's what they did in Russia. All the greatest people in Russia were murdered. In Cambodia, if you wore glasses, you were a threat to the powers that be. This is going to happen again, and it's going to happen because we believe in the vaccine myth and the contagion myth, and we're going to beg for the vaccine, and the poison is going to be in the vaccine. Look what Jane Burgermaster did when she came out and said, look, why are you putting poisons in there? They tried to do it already once, and they caught them. Don't you remember that a few years back? My God, people, we got to wake up and realize how the problem reaction solution works on many levels. Think about it this way. We got to make sure they don't have any money. Well, let me see, we already got them with the food, the housing, the taxes. Oh yeah, the power to tax is the power to control. Think about that one, or the power to destroy. And then say, what else can we get on them? Well, how about the water? Yeah, we can get them on the water. How about the air? Oh, we can't tax them on the air. But how about the air they breathe out? Let's tax them on their carbon. Those fools will buy it. Carbon taxes. Let's make up man-made global warming. Man, I'm telling you. Problem. Global crisis. Solution. Global carbon taxes. The power to tax is the power to destroy, to control, to manipulate, to keep us poor, to keep us controlled. We got to wake up. We're the giants on this planet. We got to destroy this small group of people and put them in their place. And when I say destroy, I just mean get them out of existence. I don't mean torture them and lock them and punish them like they're doing to us. That's not a solution. I don't believe that's the solution to anything. We just got to get reconnected. There's a simple solution to all these things I'm saying. And we got to wake up and realize we live on an abundant planet. These people want us to believe in scarcity. They create these crises, problem, reaction, solution. You think the Great Depression happened by accident? Why was it Germany and Japan were so prosperous? They proved to the world, both Germany and Japan, that we live on an abundant planet when you don't let these bastards siphon all the profits and you redistribute amongst the people. That's what happened to Germany and Japan, and look at your stupid belief system, bombarded with bullshit, and you think Germany and Japan's the bad guy. You believe that Hitler was bad and the Holocaust is true. Lie, 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 lie. It's all lies. You can't trust any part of your belief system. do some research with an open mind, and it's going to blow your mind. It only takes 5 minutes of decent research to look into something like the Holocaust to realize it's all fabricated. It's all a lie.